Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to One Hub Racing. This is season number 13 in the Precision Tier, live at the Chinese Grand Prix here at the Shanghai International Circuit. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining me on this miserable-looking qualifying session is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you tonight?
I'm very well, thanks. Nice to be in the dry, in our virtual commentary box. Unlike the drivers, I'm going to have to cope with these tricky damp conditions. Looks like intermediate tyres for everyone at the moment, and this could spice up qualifying.
Well, it could definitely spice up qualifying, that's for sure. Obviously, the rain can sort of neutralise all of those lap times, that dry setup. But of course, if it's dry for the race, then you're going to have drivers risking it all to set their laps on a dry setup and hope that they can get a good result out of this qualifying session.
Yeah, you'd imagine if the forecast is for a dry race, most of the drivers will go towards a dry setup, but maybe if you're struggling slightly in the championship, yet to get off the mark perhaps, you might go for the glory of trying to get pole position. And pole position has won every race so far in this year. Out of the 3 races so far, they've all been won from pole, despite all the fantastic racing that we've seen. So definitely pays to qualify at the front, but like you said, if it's a dry race, I'd expect to see most cars tend towards a dry setup.
Absolutely, and well, it's just it's kind of that miserable, rain. It's not quite drizzle, but it's not quite that heavy rain. It's sort of that rain that just makes you a little bit downbeat. But hopefully the drivers won't get affected by that one, as we see Lukey here making his way now on towards that 1.2 kilometre long straight. Of course, no DRS in these treacherous conditions, all the way down towards the hairpin. With or without DRS, Luke, this hairpin coming up is going to be a major overtaking zone.
Yeah, definitely the heaviest braking zone on the track by far. And if you don't get it done here, so Luke is just running a bit wide, you can go all the way on, carry it through the end of the Sector 3 and really all the way up to Sector 1. We saw Daniel Ricciardo overtake Valtteri Bottas at Turn 6 the other year at the end of Sector 1, so I'd expect most of the battles to start at the hairpin at Turn 14, but don't be surprised if they carry most of the way around the lap.
Once again, the Nicker crews seem to be here once again, the fan favourite currently in the pits, so we can't focus on him just yet, but I'm sure when he comes out of the pits we'll be able to get a camera on him. Well, it's certainly an interesting track, the Chinese Grand Prix. I actually haven't been here at this track in quite some time, actually. A little bit about the track, if we can get it, Luke. It seems to be one of those tracks that, yeah, drivers are. It's either they like it or it's meh. I don't normally come across a driver who actively hates this track.
Yeah, I think it's out of all the Tilke circuits, probably another one alongside Bahrain. They both came around at a similar time. Fairly enjoyable, does produce a lot of action, partly down to that massive long straight with a lot of overtaking, and it's quite unique with a lot of the circuits. There's not many tracks that are shaped after the name of the circuit. The circuit is shaped after the Shan character in China, so wouldn't work for a track like Indianapolis, just having a massive long eye as a shape of a track, but it works for Shanghai, and it's full of good overtaking. You've got the high-speed middle sector, although that will be very tricky in these conditions, although they may have more downforce on the car to try and just give themselves a bit extra grip in the wet. And you can see from the times they're setting so far, 1:44.2 the fastest. We're about 14-15 seconds off what you'd expect in the dry, so it's going to be a long time before we see anyone try dry tyres. I can't see it happening in this session.
Well, of course, someone in the chat is definitely going to be the weatherman. We'll have to see. There is Jarrett then making his way now down through Turn 3. And obviously this exit here in the dry is pretty treacherous, let alone the wet here. As we now head our way down towards this fast right-handed, down towards an almost right-handed right-hand corner. But a heavy braking zone, good overtaking opportunity here as well. But you've really got to be focused on that exit as we head now through this left-right complex. And in the wet here, in these damp conditions, you really do have to lift off. And you have to be careful with that car, because at any moment that back end will just snap on you and say, I've had enough.
Yeah, just downshifting there, trying to keep everything under control. We're seeing DRS has been enabled now, so expect to see the times to go a lot faster. Might be a bit brave to use it as early as possible, especially if you're not fully straightened the car up at the end of any corners. You could lose the rear quite easily. TK has now gone fastest, but yeah, don't be surprised to see a lot of the drivers short shifting. Just saw Jovic there moving through the gears pretty quickly just to try and reduce that wheel spin and ensure you can have a more consistent lap, really.
Absolutely. Here he comes then down towards that slow chicane, slowest part of the circuit, almost down to 55 kph then, accelerating through the gears and towards that final corner. This fast left-hander, which really encourages you to use that AstroTurf on the right hand side and then punishes you. Jarrett then coming towards the line. It's a 144.9, but as you can see, as you said, Luke, that DRS is online, which means that the rain here is starting to fade away. You can see it's a bit lighter than it was a couple of minutes ago when we started qualifying. However, there is still that water on the track, and Jarrett there actually goes into neutral for a couple of seconds there. Oh, that back end wants to let go, and he holds onto it. Bit of a drift coming out of that corner then, but Jarrett hangs on, and he'll be coming back towards the pit lane now. Although, actually, will he be coming back to the pit lane? Obviously, the qualifying strategy differs now when you're on a set of wet tyres or intermediate tyres. You'll be hoping to do as many laps as possible. So, Jarrett losing that back end once again. Somehow, once again, stays in control of that car.
He's been watching Bottas at Monaco and taking Mercedes drifting skills there. Fantastic drift round the corner. Yeah, in these conditions, especially if the forecast said, which you have to imagine it will, that it's going to get drier towards the end of the session, it might be worth just fueling the car up a bit more, just spending as many laps on these intermediate tyres as possible. If it's going to be dry in the race, you're not using them, so it doesn't matter if you're taking more life out of them, and you get a feel for the track more rather than sitting in the pits going for it later on. You get a better rhythm going, and it could be even more than usual. Whoever's the last car across the line is in the best possible chance of getting pole position today.
Well, there is Nick G then making his way on towards that 1.2 kilometre long straight, and there was a time in 2004 when we were saying this is the longest straight on the F1 calendar. Now it's a very short run down towards turn 14 nowadays, but there is the Mercedes then braking in towards turn 14, and correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, but it looks like the rain has stopped completely, so yeah, drivers...
All you Nicker fans, he's out on the ultra soft tyres at the moment, and Ashahina's gone out on the soft tyres, so we've already seen a few cars braving these dry tyres. There is a lot of runoff areas, so it's perhaps a bit safer at some of the other tracks, but if you get it wrong, especially out of that final corner, you hit the AstroTurf. I reckon it's probably going to be qualifying over, so this could be interesting to see how these first few cars do on slick tyres.
Well, Nicker here, it's going through turn 12 and 13, that double right-hander, which can catch a lot of the drivers out, and has done in the past, where the back end just isn't quite as stable as you want it to be. But here is Nicker then heading down towards turn 14. On his outlap, he'll be wanting to set a good time here. He makes his way now on towards turn 16. This fast left-hander, again, encourages you to go quickly through here and then punishes you on the exit just like that. Nicker then on towards his first flying lap on these ultra-soft tyres. Expect now these times to fall down as we head now in towards turn 1 and then in towards turn 2, where it tightens as well, sending you down through the gears, down to second gear for Nicker. Accelerating then on towards turn 3, very, very short run as you look to try and keep the car together now through turn 4, and as the sun starts to try and peek through in towards turn 5 into the braking zone of turn number 6, an overtaking opportunity, especially on the very first lap. Watch the traction zone here, but it was really well held together from Nicker as he makes his way now through turn 7, this long left-hander here, and then through turn number 8. That's a long right-hander which encourages you to go down the gears. You're slowing the car up now for turns 9 and 10. This double left-hander using that curb there. All 3 curves on the inside, then outside, then inside once again. Very challenging for those tyres and the setup for the car to cope with those curves. Through 11 and now through turn 12, this right-hander. Then through turn 13, which really rewards patience on the throttle. As you can see there, Nicker going over the bumps. No regard for those bumps whatsoever, as it's the long run down towards turn 14. This is your chance to breathe now before you get into the heavy braking zone of turn 14. Braking hard now for the hairpin. You're slowing it all the way down to 50 odd kilometers per hour as you're now heading towards the final left-hander of turn 16. Nika heading his way through, running a little bit wide on the exit of 16, on the run towards the start-finish line, and a 1:32.9 from Nika, and that is the fastest lap of the race. A fair 10 seconds, in fact 11 seconds quicker than any other lap time we've had here, but that's to be expected with dry tyres versus intermediates.
Yeah, you could just see the confidence he had, especially through the middle sector compared to Jovit, and also compared to his outlap. When I went on to Nika at the start of his outlap, he was doing a very good job just keeping the car on the road with no tyre temperature, but now that that's come in, I expect to see the times flying down. Everyone will be coming out on these ultra soft tyres, I imagine, trying to set as quick of a time as possible, and they're the softest, so they'll probably heat up the best as well in what does still look pretty overcast, cool conditions. Ashahina doing fairly well on the soft, so with a 1:33.3. He's yet to get a point this season, but he has looked pretty racy at various points.
He has, and some of those have been instances he's been caught up in. Brazil springs to mind, but yeah, he's looking for his first points of the season. Westy then, 1:30.8, and that is faster than Lukey, who said a 1:31.3. White Fountain now goes second, a 1:31.2, as Chris now goes quickest, 1:30.6 from the Ferrari man, making his way now down towards turn 1. The times are thick and fast coming through. Scanny 1:34.8 on a set of mediums. Neil's there, 10th place, 1:42.6 on a set of ultra soft tyres. That's not a representative lap time, of course, as he makes his way now in towards turn 3 and then on to turn 4. Neil's there, getting very sideways through turn 4 and still holding on to the car then as he makes his way now down towards turn 6. Who else is on a flying lap then? We have TK then, second place, 1:30.7 from the McLaren driver, as he looks to try and get his way back up the field. We've got Victor, who I believe is serving a ban of some sort. I mean, he's not able to come out to the pits. We'll confirm that later on. Well, we have Odems, of course, in the in the chat. Westy was one of them who made sure he answered some questions. Odems asked him, China's quite a wide track, which should in theory make DNFs slightly harder. Do you appreciate this fact? And Westy said, it gives those who believe they have the pace to win less than an excuse to. So, pretty ambiguous there from Westy.
Fired.
Pretty ambiguous, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. Westy then flying in towards the pit lane. Also, Odems asked him, after this race we'll be already halfway through the season, where do you hope to finish in the standings? And Westy simply answered a question with another question. Don't we all hope to be champion?
What they're all here for. I can't imagine any of them signed up with a hope of finishing towards the bottom half. Sometimes the first few races mean you've got to be a bit more realistic with your goals, but we've generally seen how close this tier is. I think it shows the consistency of Westy that he's managed to get 68 out of a possible 75 points, because qualifying has generally been super close at every track, a second pretty much separating the entire field on occasions. If you make a slight mistake in qualifying on the race, you could easily drop a load of places, so I think they're all going to have hope that they can still win a race this season.
Oh, TK, who's currently third in qualifying at the moment, he was asked, you know, China is quite a wide track, makes DNF slightly harder. Do you appreciate this fact? TK replied, no, not really. It makes it more interesting for some drivers to use all of the off tracks to push you out. I want to be on the edge every lap. Big words from TK in the McLaren, and well, we should be watching him for most of the race then, because it looks like he's going to be on the limit.
Yeah, well, like I said, you can just afford to push a bit more. There's less punishment. I know, personally myself, I prefer the more old school runoff areas where there's a bit of gravel and wet AstroTurf waiting in case you get it wrong. But I think it does mean the drivers may push a bit more. Something that is sometimes the issue just at the Monaco Grand Prix. You're not really willing to go for it, because if you make a mistake, you know you're out of the race. There's no coming back. Whereas here, you can maybe afford to go for a bit of a risky move down into the hairpin, And if it doesn't pay off, you've got a lot of runoff area to get away with. As long as you do actually remember to brake at some point, you shouldn't crash.
Well, Lukey and Chris seem to be looking at repairing and building team relations, because when Odems asked him, do you stay in a party for the race? If so, is it strictly only with your teammate or other drivers as well? Lukey said, from Bahrain onwards, me and my teammate will be in parties. And of course that helps the team out, not only the team but also the drivers as well. It prevents that double stacking. There's that instant communication between the two drivers in the hopes that they can really build on getting Ferrari better results, because Red Bull in the constructors across all 4 tiers have just looked unstoppable recently.
Yeah, 119 points before the start of tonight, ahead of Toro Rosso in second. Haas just 1 point behind, with Westy getting just under half of Haas's points at the moment. We go to the Drivers' Championship. Westy on 68 points at the moment. Jorrit and White Fountain, 2 of our race premium drivers, in second and third. So let's go through some of the other race premium drivers. Lawrence, he's got his first podium last time out. He's 5th on 26 points. Chris, 8th on 15 points, and Joe also on 15. Luke in 10th on 12. TK, 13th on 5, and Ashahina and Pete near the bottom of the leaderboard, middle flat so far for them.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you're reaching the halfway point of the season with 0 points next to your name, but it's a real test for the drivers. It's a real test for their tenacity and their will to keep going forward. Here comes Lawrence towards the line to start a new flying lap in the Renault as he makes his way now down towards turn 1. And well, qualifying now has sort of flown by. We've only got 50 seconds left before the checker flag comes out. And we've got yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3. That's normally because drivers are moving out of the way and, well, you know, making room out there. Of course, we've got the ultra softs, the softs and the mediums here in tonight's race. As a matter, by the way, now going on to a flying lap. This is going to be his only dry tyre run. The same for Jaw as well, as they make their way now on towards that high-speed chicane almost of turns 6 and 7. Is that a huge risk there? The only dry lap of the session?
I'd say now it's practically dry, so probably not a huge risk. Maybe they're just wanting more fresh ultra soft tyres for the race. Compulsory 2 stops. Or also maybe go for 1 longer stint and 2 shorter ones on the ultra softs as the checkered flag falls and Nick unable to improve his time. But I feel like I definitely would have wanted to get a banker lap in on some sort of dry tyre, because if they make a slight mistake, they're at the bottom of the grid and there's nothing they can do about that. And it's going to be a much tougher race fighting back from 15th and 16th, if that is the case, of course.
Here comes Jaw then in towards turn 14, slight kink of 15, and on the run now towards turn 16. Nika, 7th place, 130.9. Lawrence goes top, 130.2 in the Renault. How about Jaw, 130.9. It's 9th place for the McLaren driver. What about the other McLaren driver of TK? He's now making his way towards turn 14. Here comes Chris towards the line. Goes pole position, 130.1 from the Ferrari driver. Westy coming towards the line. Can he improve? No, he can't. He stays in 6th place. What about TK? He's making his way now around the final corner in the McLaren on his way towards the start-finish line. Can he improve on his time? He can, but it was invalid. Oh no, it was invalidated. 4th place then, but no position changes for the McLaren. We've got White Fountain now up to 2nd place in the Red Bull. Scorpion up to 5th. Red Bull looking to continue their great run across all the tiers. We've got Lukey, we've got cars ahead as well. Here comes Joret towards the line. We've got a Haas in there as well. Joret up to 4th place. That was Lukey staying in P10, Victor staying in P14. Here comes Niels towards the line then to grab P13. You can see on the steering wheel there for the Force India. But Chris then grabbing pole position here at the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, he's earned himself a bit of a reputation, the former one-hub champion in the first 2 races, but that was a fantastic lap. I noticed Jovic got a fantastic slipstream off Victor all the way down the main straight, though Victor didn't seem to get out of the way. I think he was on a hot lap as well, so whatever I think Jovic gained from the slipstream, he probably lost going into the hairpin, but he'll be fairly happy with 4th place. It's ahead of his main title rival.
Yeah, absolutely. And qualifying is as this. Chris qualifies on pole position for Ferrari. White Fountain in second for Red Bull. Lawrence in third for Renault. Then it's Jorrit in fourth. Nick G in fifth. Scorpion in sixth. TK seventh. Asahina eighth. Westy ninth. Lukey 10th. Nika in 11th. Jor in 12th. Niels in 13th. Victor 14th. Scanny 15th. Azamata then in 16th place. Interestingly then, he only set a lap time on the intermediate tyres, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, well, now his pace is pretty much masked. No one knows how quick he's going to be. The bad news for him, though, is that he's starting at the back of the grid.
Yeah, he will have fresh. All his dry tyres will be fresh, of course, but starting outside the top 10, he'll have had a fresh choice of tyres. Anyway, I think White Fountain, he'll be happy with second place, but he'll be hoping that he gets his strategy decisions a bit better than he managed in Bahrain. He was called to the press conference this time out, and he admitted himself that he went for mediums too early and was just spent so long trying to save the tyres. He just had no pace towards the end of the race, and that also cost our pole sitter this time around, Chris, as well in Bahrain. So I feel like they're going for redemption here.
Well, redemption is part of the way done with good qualifying positions from them both. Chris nabbing pole position then. Let us know who your flags are flying for tonight. Who are you hoping to get a good result? Maybe you're part of the teams there racing later on tonight. Maybe you've already raced tonight. Let us know how you got on. But we've got Aaron in the chat then saying, come on the Saubers. So obviously a big shout out for the Saubers then. They'll be hoping for a good result today here in China. And Odem saying, I myself mentioned Odem's track guide with lots of hearts. Lots and lots of hearts. Well, Odems, I like to feel like your time has been put to good use. That's all I'll say about that.
Clearly thinking you listen to the track guide will help him prepare for his race, of course, later on tonight.
Well played. I like that. Well, Chris, apparently, One Hub themselves have helped us out here, Luke. Chris and White Fountain came together in practice on Thursday. So this should be a pretty interesting how that goes down on the track tonight.
That could be a very interesting first corner.
I think it's going to... Well, it's an interesting first corner, is it? Because it's a long right-hander. It does encourage cars to go 2-3 wide around there. But, you know, it's got a mix of drivers going aggressive and other drivers maybe trying to conserve the position. And the nature of it, where it goes round to the right, then dips to the left, it's sort of then downhill. It's an awkward sort of first few corners. And I feel like if you keep your front wing clean through all of that, you've got a good chance of finishing in a good position.
Yeah, on the first few laps, it's pretty easy to go 2 or 3 wide, and you can hold it all the way around the outside of 1 and 2 for the inside of 3. From personal experience, later on in the race, if you try and go around the outside once the marbles are built up, you can easily find yourself skidding off into the runoff area and losing a chunk of time. But I'm sure all the drivers have put hours of practicing, and they'll all be well prepared for whatever today can throw at them.
So then top 10, as always, start on the qualifying tyre. They post their fastest lap time on. Anyone outside the top 10 gets a fresh set of tyres. Fan favourite Nika then in 11th place, starting on the middle ground tyre, the soft tyre. Jor in 12th, also on the soft tyre. Niels in 13th. He's starting on a set of ultra soft tyres, the softest possible tyre. Victor in the Haas going for the soft tyre. Scanny in 15th, also on the soft tyre. And Azamata at the back, also on the soft tyre. I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, it seems to be generally in most of the races, if you go starting on qualifying, you're on the softest tyre. Not really expected to see the mediums, as Scanny gets very sideways on his formation lap there, trying to warm up his soft tyres. I think we've seen a few drivers tend to go a bit longer in their first stint, but if there's a safety car, that could change everything. If they've got any strategies planned out, generally goes out of the window if there's any incidents.
Absolutely. Remember the mandatory 2 stops tonight. Every driver has to visit the pits at least twice and make 1 racing lap on each tyre they have a stint on. So that means they can't pit on lap 27, because once they cross the line, it will be lap 28, and that won't count as a full racing lap. If they're going to pit that late, it has to be lap 26. Here we go then, Chris making his way around the final corner, leading them down towards the grid. And of course, One Hub Racing is sponsored by Next Level Racing at Next LVL Racing on Twitter. And Luke, what's the code for them to get 10% off?
The code is 1HUB 10. So that's one hub and then the number 10.
Well, let's see what the drivers can do tonight. Red Bull will be wanting to keep their good form going, and the championship rivals will want to keep their side of the baton going as well. Once this race is finished, we'll be halfway through the season. We're moments away here in Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. And we're waiting now for those 5 red lights to come on any second now. And here we go then for the Chinese Grand Prix. 5 red lights. Round 4 is underway, and what the start's like. Looks like it's a good start from Chris then. White Fountain also getting a good start. He's almost side by side with the Ferrari as they head their way down towards turn 1. And White Fountain and Chris have come together immediately then. Through turn 1, we've got a McLaren round. That's TK around behind them. And that looked like Nick G involved in that as well. They're both around. Hectic first corner already. Meanwhile, Chris and Jarrett then running side by side out of turn 3 and 4 then. Lawrence has got a good start as well. He's now 3rd place, looking for a way outside of Chris then as we head towards turn 6. The Mercedes then of Jarrett almost running into the back of the Ferrari then. Looks like it's a fiery first couple of laps here. First couple of corners even, as there's lots of drama happening all across the field then. Victor in 11th place, starting on those soft tyres. He started outside the top 10. Meanwhile, the Force India is battling away. It's not a great start for Niels. He wanted a better start than that on those ultra soft tyres. But meanwhile, Jarrett is trying to close in on Lawrence ahead of him. Meanwhile then, White Fountain is now 1.6 seconds ahead of Chris as the Renault there of Lawrence tries up the inside of Chris then. Chris has front wing damage. The Mercedes and the Renault come together. Lawrence and Jarrett making slight contact wheel to wheel as they now head through that long right-hander. Chris is he's off the track. He's at the next event and back, trying to defend this position. That's how little front downforce he has. White Fountain's already 2.7 seconds ahead of Chris. Look at this skirmish then as we head now down towards turn 14 for the very first time. That's the Mercedes and the Ferrari trying to battle away. That's Scorpion now out of nowhere battling away with Chris then as they head now towards the final corner. Through turn 16 they go. Jarrett moves up to 2nd place. Scorpion as well moves ahead because Chris has now come into the pits. New front wing for the Ferrari. He'll be devastated that first lap. Pole position, and he's gone and thrown it away. He'll be all the way at the back then. Bit of a messy first corner really. Amount of front wing debris out there, but White Fountain leads on lap 1. Jarrett in 2nd, Scorpion 3rd, Lawrence in 4th, Jor 5th, Asahina 6th, Lukey 7th, Nika 8th, Niels in 9th then, Victor in 10th. Well, that matters up to 10th then with Victor in 11th. They battle out of turn 4 and side by side they go towards turn 5. Victor there is going to find the space down towards the braking zone of turn 6. He's going to launch it up the inside. Looks like Azamata just sort of outbroke himself there in towards turn 6 as they head now through this long and fast 7 and 8. Scanny then in 12th, Nick G 13th, TK who's around at turn 1 in 14th, Chris in 15th, and then Westy at the back of the grid. Not a great start for him at all. Oh, as a matter, loses the back end through turn 8. Scanny takes advantage through turn 9, but he loses it on the curb as well. Well, it's a dramatic start here, Luke.
Niels just ahead, he also lost it. The start seemed fairly even in the first phase between White Fountain and Chris as Niels gets all the way up on the curb, and that gives Victor a great run. And Scanny seems to be following him as well. Seemed fairly even between White Fountain and Chris. Lawrence had to defend from Jobbit, and I think just a bit of a clumsy coming together, and then obviously with the front wing damage from Chris, he had to go all the way around the lap, just sort of holding everyone up for the first few corners with that damage, and that just caused all the problems. But a fantastic start from White Fountain and both Red Bulls really. They're both in the podium places now, and DRS is enabled, so we expect to see a lot more action down the pit straight, and Lawrence pits as well now. He's only managed 2 laps on those tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be tough for him now, but well, he's got to come in, he's got to get those tyres changed. Of course, that will be his one stop, so it's not over yet, not by a long shot. We've seen drivers who have had to pit on the very first lap still got good positions because of the 2-stop strategy. Scorpion then round the outside of Jorrit, then down towards turn 6. Couldn't quite get the move done then. Jorrit managed to defend on the exit of turn 6, so they now fly through turn 7 and then onto the right-hander of turn number 8. The double left-handers of 9 and 10. As you can see here, Jorrit taking a much deeper line in towards turn 8 then. And that might invite Scorpion to just try and get a better line. But look at that, Jorrit just parks it on the apex. There's nowhere for Scorpion to go through that double left-hander. And Jorrit manages to keep him behind. But Jorrit there now 5.2 seconds behind White Fountain. It's been a dream start for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, if I was Scorpion, I'd be slightly relieved that he got held up by Jovic there, because I think if he'd have got past him, Jovic would have been able to just go straight past in the DRS zone. Jovic's already having to go defensive. Joe's looking in a good place behind. He's gained 8 positions off the start line as the Red Bull and the Mercedes go side by side. And that should be a fairly straightforward DRS pass, although Scorpion's got a bit wide and Jovic's going to have a chance to get back at him, but Scorpion gets the move done.
Yeah, it's a good move then from Scorpion. He's now up to second place, and look at that. Jory instantly into the pits, runs very wide on the pit lane entrance. Very lucky to get away from not hitting the wall whatsoever there. So it's White Fountain who leads then. Scorpion in second. It is a Red Bull 1-2 at this moment in time, and all the other tiers will be looking in, well, I think fear, because Red Bull have to see the consistency across all 4 tiers at the moment.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier to you before we started the race, they could pretty much afford to have 3 complete non-finishers. Jovic, it says, has left the session here, so a bit of a nightmare for the Mercedes. The Red Bulls could afford to have 3 races with non-finishers. Toro Rosso's getting 1-2, and they'd pretty much be equal in the championship. And there's only halfway through the championship after today. They could have this sewn up, not mathematically obviously, but pretty much realistically by the end of next week.
Well, we'll be hoping that that doesn't happen. Let's see if we can find a challenger in these next couple of races. Jaw is looking to try and break that. Championship leader Westy, 13th place at the moment. Jory is 24 points behind, but he's left the session. So both sort of championship leaders are outside of the points. This is fantastic news for White Fountain. 3rd place in the championship, 36 points off the lead. That could dramatically go down to 11 points by the end of racing tonight. Scorpion then getting passed by Jaw in towards turn 14. Meanwhile, Victor behind them has got away past Nika as White Fountain comes into the pit. So Scorpion has to stay out for another lap here. So I wonder if that's going to hurt him in the long run. DRS open for Nika then as we make our way down towards turn 1. You can see ahead of them, Jaw trying to defend from Scorpion in towards turn 1. Turn 1, not really the overtaking opportunity. You've just got to put pressure on the car ahead. Yellow flags in sector 3, and that's Scani around. Scani is out of the race then. That looks like the high-speed corner of turn 13. He's obviously lost the back end, and that is the end of the race for Scani. So he comes to the first retirement today. Azamata and Niels then battling through turn 5 and then towards the braking zone of turn 6. Azamata then holding on to the position into the braking zone of turn 6. Westy here looking to try and get some sort of recovery drive under his belt. Up to 12th place he goes now as a virtual safety car deployed then. That's obviously for Scani's abandoned car. So all the cars can take a little bit of a breather after what's been a hectic opening first 5 laps. At the virtual safety car, it's Jaw who leads then. Scorpion 2nd, Victor 3rd, Nika 4th, Azamata 5th, Nielsen 6th, White Fountain 7th, Lawrence in 8th, Asahina 9th, Chris in 10th, Lukey 11th, Westy 12th, TK 13th, Jorit 14th, and Nick G in 15th, as Jorit has actually joined back into the session. And, well, what an opening first few laps it's been, Luke.
Yeah, Scorpion and Niels, they'll be hoping this virtual safety car lasts long enough that they can get into the pits.
Oh! Jaw's out!
Jaw's out!
I don't believe it! It looked like he hit nothing! I don't believe it! What on earth happened to the McLaren? I'm speechless.
I just see, did he just try and keep his tyres warm or something? As we see, Niels has nearly gone into the back of Mata under the virtual safety car, which has just ended now. Scorpion has come into the pit, and that has completely changed this race. It's probably, I'd say, looking like a Red Bull 1-2, the most likely outcome so far, but we've seen disconnections and crashes already. I don't want to predict anything with 23 laps to go.
I'm honestly speechless. I don't know how Jaw has crashed his car in the middle of the track. Words are beyond me at this point. That doesn't happen often, but words are beyond me at this point. Chris, meanwhile, 8th place, pole position sitter, as now has to go round the long way around at Scorpion. Scorpion, who's just pitted, by the way. And look at this now, battling side by side then as they head through turn 3. The Red Bull on the inside, the Ferrari on the outside. Chris knows this is a crucial move he has to make, and he's made it, but he's off instantly. He clipped the curb, and he's off. The Ferrari out at turn 4. He's not out, but he's into the gravel, and he's staying there for a long, long time. Something's telling me unbroadcastable words are being spoken right now. But Chris reverses the car, and once again, that front wing has taken a battering. It's just not been Chris's race.
It's not been Ferrari's race as that was happening. Lukey tapped the back of Scorpion as the Red Bull slowed down to avoid Chris, and Chris has retired from the race. So I said Powell had won every race this season, and I'm sorry, Chris, because that is a pretty damn effective commentator's curse I seem to have put on you. Lap 6, 2 broken front wings and 1 retirement. Victor, Nika and Mata, the only drivers not to stop so far, hopefully. As Niels and Nick are out as well. Down to 11 runners all of a sudden.
This has been quite a Grand Prix so far. Niels and Nick then didn't see it on the stream, but they are both out of the Chinese Grand Prix, and we are down to 11 runners. Now, that's good news for Westy. He's now back up into 9th place. Well, Jorrit then in 11th. He is now joined back into the race, so 11th place for him so far. So he's got a chance of points. So it's good news for Westy and White Fountain. There's more points on offer. It's bad news for White Fountain, who really wanted to take advantage of this.
Yeah, things not really going to plan. I was going to say just before Chris pitted, losing that front wing really didn't cost him too much time, because we saw he was battling with Scorpion again after the pit stops, just as he was before. But so it just shows how quickly things can go wrong. And I think Odems may have cursed a few drivers when he said there's plenty of runoff areas here. We've seen 5 retirements already and we're only on lap 7.
Yeah, less DNFs, says Odems. Or suggested Odems. Yeah, we've lost 5 drivers in 7 laps. Unbelievable stuff. But on lap 7 then, Victor leads. He's yet to make his first stop. Nika in 2nd, Azamata in 3rd, White Fountain in 4th. He's made 1 stop this race already. Asahina in 5th, Lawrence there in 6th, with Scorpion in 7th. Lukey then in 8th, Westy in 9th, TK 10th, and Jorrit just outside the points then, running in 11th place. Well, Victor then comes across the line to start lap number 8, and questions now ask, when do the soft tyre runners pit in? Those who started on those soft tyres, when is their time to come into pit?
I'd imagine it's somewhere around, if they can get to around lap 14 or 15, they can probably get away with going ultra soft at the end of the race, although most of the front runners who started on them only managed about 4 or 5 laps. Lukey coming into the pit, so he must have suffered some front wing damage in the Scorpion incident. I think the soft runners, they'll be feeling pretty comfortable with what we're doing. We've seen Victor quite often this season go for a harder set of tyres, and Lukey, unsurprisingly perhaps, going on to the mediums, because this is his 2nd stop of course, and he will be able to get to the end on those.
Yeah, well, he's got 21 laps to do on those tyres, so quite a long distance. If he can keep those tyres in check, he might be on for a good position. The only problem is, towards the end of the race, he's going to be vulnerable to those on the softer tyres around him. But we'll have to see if that strategy works then. And as I said before, 21 laps to go, 20 and a bit if you're picky, with Victor leading from Nika in 2nd, Azamata in 3rd. You're watching at the moment Lawrence making a mistake out of turn 10 and is now under pressure from Scorpion as we head through 11, through 12, and then through this long right-hander at turn 13, where the grip in the car and the downforce is really tested. The Red Bull here now into the slipstream. He'll have some DRS, although Lawrence will have DRS from Asahina ahead of him. How much can Scorpion close this gap as they head now down towards the hairpin? The answer is not very much at all. In fact, Scorpion running 0 ERS mode. He's not interested in making an overtake at the moment.
Yeah, perhaps just following Lawrence around, feeling he has got slightly fresher tyres, so perhaps waiting until a bit later on to make a move. These who've already pitted, they're not gaining lots of time at the moment on Victor out in front. The gap's just dipped below 12 seconds, but it's been around that point for a while. So I'd say Victor, Nika and Mata, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping these tyres in good shape. And we saw last week White Fountain, quite a few cars catching him up in the last few laps. It wouldn't surprise me if we see something similar happen, maybe not for the lead. White Fountain 6 seconds ahead of the next car who has pitted already, and that is Asahina. We wouldn't be surprised if we see a few cars going all out for fastest lap and some late overtaking in this race.
got to say, round 4, you know, we've had 3 previous rounds where there seems to be battling every single lap, you know, moves being made all over the place. The Chinese Grand Prix has just seemed to be retirements on average every single lap so far. So it's been a different race, but it looks like this 2-stop strategy in the mandatory stop section could spice this up. Obviously, we've got Victor, Nika and Azamate all yet to make their stops. White Fountain then seems to be one of the favourites to win then, and Asahina up in 5th place at the moment. Meanwhile then, Scorpion has got a fantastic run on Lawrence, then heading down towards turn 14. He'll move to the right hand side, and with that ERS deployment, runs side by side with him, down the inside, locking up then in towards turn 14, and there you are then. Scorpion gets the move done, past Lawrence he goes, as Azamata comes into the pits from 3rd place. Scorpion moves up to 6th place on track as he passes Lawrence at the hairpin.
Yeah, Scorpion he had the inside line. I think Lawrence was trying to hold it all the way around the outside, but Scorpion very happy just to give Lawrence a slight nudge towards the edge of the track, making sure that he couldn't do the cutback, which you see quite often here. And he's already got right on the back of Asahina, so I reckon he'll be trying to get up to 4th place very quickly. This might be the on-track action we've been waiting for.
No, absolutely, right on that tail then as we head towards this fast section of turns 7 and 8. And that dirty air can play a role, especially on worn tyres. But Scorpion's just trying to keep his cool. 4-lap-old softs against 6-lap-old softs. And Asahina here, if these are his first points of the season, which I've now just jinxed him with the commentator's curse, then he'll be loving this one right now. Seeming to keep those tyres in good check at the moment and in good health. And he's been helped majorly by the retirements around him.
Yeah, he's kept his nose clean, started in 8th place, had a pretty good first lap. He was sort of in that area just behind White Fountain, Scorpion, Chris, where all the incidents seem to be happening, but he's gone defensive very early on the straight here, weaving all over the place, and I think Scorpion's just going to outbrake him down into the hairpin. Asahina not even trying to hold it on the outside. He's going to try and get a better exit, but Scorpion has the move done for now.
Yeah, in towards turn 16, not really anywhere Asahina can go, but he can get a great exit out of turn 16 with the DRS then, and Asahina moves back ahead. Nika into the pits then from 2nd place, and Asahina then in towards turn 1, gets the position done, but Scorpion now looking up the inside, in towards turn 2 they go, down the hill then into turn 3. Asahina still has the inside line as we now make our way through turn 4. What are they going to be? They're going to be side by side on the exit then, and Asahina holds on. Scorpion heading down towards turn 6, thinks about the move down the inside, but can't quite make it stick. But there's Lawrence in the Renault trying to make that move stick. He couldn't make it stick either, but he was really onto the curb there, really pushing his luck, and he couldn't quite take advantage, couldn't quite make the move stick.
I think Lawrence was hoping that there'd be a bit more wheel banging and he might just be able to slot past the pair of them. But Scorpion's ran slightly wide, that's put him quite a long way off Asahina, so Scorpion will have been thinking about attacking Vassal, but his mind is now going to be all about keeping that Renault behind him.
And look at this then, you can see Lawrence taking a wider entry into turn 12 to try and get a better run through turn 13, but he had to lift off halfway through that corner. That's the problem here. The grip can be great, and then all of a sudden it will just drop away, especially through the right-hander at turn 13, and it looks like going down to the hairpin. 3rd, 4th and 5th is as you were, as Scorpion looks to still try and close that gap on Asahina to try and have another go.
Yeah, Scorpion, it was this corner last time where he ran wide and just had to back off the throttle, and that gave Asahina such a good run, but he's got it better this time, and Asahina doesn't have DRS, of course. Scorpion not sure which way to go. He's going to try and go down the inside, but Asahina's brake later, but maybe all the way around the outside at turn 3 perhaps, and he's already got ahead, and Asahina's going to fight back on the curve. Pretty much a carbon copy of last time around, and Asahina's just ahead for now, and Scorpion's going to try and fight back into turn 6, but he's just too far behind this time around. And usually we see Luki quite often somehow fending off the challenge of everyone behind him. Asahina seems to have picked up that mantle today.
Asahina had just about enough of a car down the inside to prevent Scorpion from really taking that corner. That's what he wanted to do, but he couldn't quite do it. Scorpion seemingly taking a better line through turns 9 and 10, but he's still under that pressure from the Renault, and Lawrence is basically putting him under that pressure and telling him, if you make a mistake, I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, I think Lawrence just playing a waiting game here, but all this battling, of course, is allowing Westy and TK to catch up. They're only 3.5 seconds behind Asahina at the moment, and could Westy somehow get a podium after pitting on the first lap?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Victor then into the pits. He started the race on the soft tyres. Scorpion going for a dive, then down towards turn 14 and has to back out of it. Loses the back end slightly out of the exit of the corner as Scorpion then manages to hold on then from the attack of Lawrence in towards turn 16. But Scorpion here is putting it all on the line at the moment. He just can't make it stick at the moment.
Yeah, he's trying everything. He doesn't want to get too desperate. All these lockups could end up ruining his tyres. He wants to take advantage of that fresh rubber as best as he can at the moment. Victor comes out in 7th place and he is on the ultra soft tyres, so I think Westy, if they are in communication with each other, Westy will be telling him to get to the back of TK soon, just to take a bit of the pressure off the championship leader.
Well, Asahina just trying to build that gap to Scorpion behind him. As you say there, TK is now trying to close up on Westy as he now goes through turn 7, then to the right-hander of turn 8. Can he try and close that gap on Westy? 3 laps is the age difference between those two tyres. TK's tyres 3 laps younger than Westy ahead of him. You can see all that debris littered across the right-hand side of the track on towards the braking zone of turn 11. And then we're heading now through turn 12 and then through turn 13. Speaking of 13, it is lap 13 at the moment of the Chinese Grand Prix here in season 13 of One Hub Precision Tier. It is White Fountain who leads, Asahina 2nd, Scorpion in 3rd, Lawrence in 4th, Westy 5th, TK 6th, Victor 7th, Nika in 8th. Azamata makes her way past Jorrit then in turn 13, but look at the Mercedes driver having a go back then. Who's going to have the DRS? It's going to be the Toro Rosso driver. You can see how much of a straight line speed that Mercedes has then down towards turn 14. He's still going to try and stick it up the inside there, and Jorrit's Mercedes is so slippery down the straights, able to keep up with the Toro Rosso even without DRS.
Yeah, definitely a setup choice I think made by Jorrit there to perhaps go a bit more on the straight to ensure he can attack when he needs to and defend. We saw him get such a good exit off turn 13, I think, with Azamata going for a move compromising him, but you saw the difference DRS made. Jorrit was flying past him, and Azamata, even though he weren't able to pass him at the end, you just saw him catch up ever so slightly. And Scorpion still all over the back of Asahina for 2nd place and still not able to find a way past at the moment. And TK's even closer than Westy than before. I think them Haas tyres are becoming past their best very quickly.
Did you just use a pass pun there?
An accidental.
Because if you did, this stream's going to have to end, Luke.
If I did, I'm more annoyed that I didn't intend to do it.
Well, meanwhile then, Azamata then heading now towards turn 11. Still putting that pressure on Jorrit. 4 battles now to be looking at. We've got the battle between Asahina and Scorpion heading down towards the hairpin. Doesn't look like Scorpion's close enough, but he's going to try it anyway. Down towards 14. Contact between the two of them. Meanwhile, TK up the inside of Westy and has the position then. TK up to 5th. Westy down to 6th. Victor on a new set of, well, these are soft tyres actually, as he makes his way now in towards 16, on towards the start-finish line. Westy in the pits once again, and if I'm right, that's going to be his 2nd stop of the race. So something's telling me he might go for the medium tyres, maybe even another set of soft tyres. That should get him to the end of the race.
Yeah, he's managed 13 laps on this set of soft tyres. He'd have 14 to do on the next set, and that is what he's going for. With less fuel, that should be fairly comfortable. There's Jorrit trying to fight with Azamata now for 8th position, nearly clipping the back of him. I have noticed Asahina seems to be defending very early on that main straight on the first DRS zone on the way down to the hairpin, and I'm not sure it's entirely necessary all the time.
Well, we'll have a check then next time they come around, but Asahina is just doing his best to defend here. Meanwhile, it's fantastic news for White Fountain, who currently leads this race by 10.8 seconds ahead of Asahina. But I tell you what, if you haven't scored a point all season, and you've got a chance of scoring 18 points all in one go. That heart rate of that Sauber must be going through the roof at the moment.
Yeah, I imagine he'll be feeling the pressure. Scorpion's still quite a long way behind, but we've seen how effective DRS, and again Ashahina, I think it's just moving to the right, more just to break for toe, perhaps, than any actual defending. Behind Victor's trying to get past TK, he's down the inside going into the hairpin, and that puts Verhaas into 5th position for now, taking full advantage of those fresh tyres. And Ashahina still holding on somehow, and Lawrence, he's just dropping slightly back from his battle, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Renault driver pitting in the next lap or two.
As you say, Ashahina doing his best here to just hold on. Down towards turn 3 they go, and then through turn 4. Ashahina currently in 2nd place, but the longer he keeps Scorpion behind, the more frustrated Scorpion's going to get. So what's the sort of temperament of Scorpion going to be like? Will he stay behind? Will he try some moves? Or will he get more and more desperate as this race unfolds?
I think he's going to try it somewhere else other than turn 14, because he's tried it there quite a few times, and Ashahina always seems to be able to cover it off. So maybe just stick behind there, concentrate on getting a better exit, and then keep the DRS through into turn 1 and pass him there, perhaps even into turn 6. But I feel as though if he doesn't get it done, he's just got to think that he has got slightly fresher tyres at the moment. He will be faster towards the end of the race, but Ashahina will have that undercut, of course, when the Sauber finally pits, and this might be an opportunity because Ashahina has ran very wide coming out of turn 13.
In towards the DRS zone we go then. Scorpion right in the slipstream, pulls over to the left hand side, down towards turn 14. What's the move going to be like then? Down towards the hairpin. Ashahina's going to be on the inside. Scorpion around the outside at turn 14, and he's got the move done. And Scorpion under that helmet will be screaming finally. And look at that, just as Scorpion gets past, Ashahina comes into the pits. And I can tell you as a driver, that is one of the most frustrating things you can ever see, is you finally pass someone, but they come into the pits the moment you overtake them. Lawrence then getting a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding. Was that speeding in the pit lane or exceeding track limits? I think it was speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, it was speeding in the pit lane, so he's going to drop even further off this battle, of course. Westy's now setting the fastest lap on them fresher tyres. He's up to 6th at the moment, and I believe that does make him the lead out of those who have 2 stops at the moment.
We can confirm that then with the stop-o-meter. Yep, you can see Westy there in 6th place. 2 stops then. Everyone in front of them has made 1 stop so far. So Westy then, it's been a decent recovery drive from him so far. He's rejoined ahead of Ashahina. So that's a good indication then that he's going to be in that battle with Scorpion, with Victor, with Nika, with all those guys up ahead of him. So this race for him is far from over.
I think it's all about just maybe keeping it calm, perhaps. Setting the fastest laps looks good on screen, but if he's taking too much out of these tyres, he's going to find it very difficult in the final stage. I've seen some yellow flags in Sector 3, but I'm not quite sure what they are for. As Victor's on down the inside of Scorpion now, so Scorpion's just got past Ashahina and he's instantly having to defend. And Victor moves up into 2nd place as White Fountain, our race leader, comes into the pits.
That'll be for his 2nd and final stop of the race then. And is Victor going to take the lead then? White Fountain just leaving his pit box, and it looks like Victor is going to take the race lead. But he's, of course, yet to stop once again. It looks like on those tyres, though, he looks pretty quick to me. It says in the telemetry the soft tyres, but we're seeing the purple-walled ultra soft tyres. It looks like he's got the pace to be on the ultra soft tyres.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just the pace of the cars around him struggling to save the tyres. If he is on the softs, he'll definitely be on the ultra softs at the end of the race, of course. He's definitely putting in a good performance so far. Started down in 14th place. He has shown potential at a few races this season. He was leading at one point in Austin as well, but White Fountain, he'll be happy with his performance so far. Comes out in 4th place, and most importantly for him, comes out in clear air. Doesn't have to worry about passing Azamata, who is just behind him. And Ashahina seems to have a bit of a gap behind him for the first time. I'm sure that'll be a relief for him, that he doesn't have to think about defending for the next few laps.
I'm sure it'll be a breath of fresh air for him, but Lawrence is closing on him. A couple of tenths per mini sector. 1.3 is currently the gap right now. We have 11 laps to go here. 10 and a bit if you're picky, as Victor makes his way down towards the hairpin. He currently leads the Chinese Grand Prix. It's Scorpion in second, Nika in third, with White Fountain, the first now of the two stoppers, running in fourth place. Azamata in fifth, Westy in sixth, Asahina in seventh, Lawrence in eighth, TK in ninth, Lukey in 10th place on those medium tyres. And it's Jarrett then who's made two stops then as he makes his way through turn 13 in 11th place. And it has not been a race for Jarrett at all, running at the back of the field with two stops made now. The only sort of hope he has then is if he can catch Lawrence and TK ahead of him, but that's going to be a huge battle in itself, considering that they've all stopped twice now. And it just looks like Jarrett here is just going to try and race and see if there's any points on the table. Meanwhile, TK running wide at turn 2 in a battle with Scorpion there. Now, I wonder if the two of them maybe came together. I wasn't quite sure, so I didn't see it on the stream. But it was another place to lose it. Maybe
TK just caught out slightly by Scorpion leaving the pits, perhaps.
Yeah, that would add up. That would make sense. I'm just trying to rack my brain around it. Yeah, it would make sense if that was the case, because Scorpion would have been on the inside, and maybe TK, wasn't expecting him and understeered wide. But that's all I can think of right now. Lawrence closing in on Asahina. Looking at the sort of position changes right now, of course, Azamata is up 12 places at the moment. Victor is up 13. Nika is up 9, but they've all yet to stop again in this race. So it'll be interesting to see where they rejoin and how well they can really keep the pace in the closing stages of this Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think every single one of them is going to be trying to go as late as possible to get onto the ultra soft tyres at the end.
Oh, Lawrence has gone straight on.
He's got another penalty as well for exceeding track limits, so it's not been the cleanest of the races from the Renault driver, and he will be gutted with that at the moment. That would drop him down to 10th place as it stands. Driver in 10th at the moment, Lukey, on those medium tyres, and I think this race, as well as Bahrain, it's just proved those medium tyres don't seem to work on this two-stop strategy. You seem to have so little pace, and you've got to drive so carefully to get them to last till the end. We saw Chris and White Fountain try it in Bahrain, and they're basically sitting ducks at the end of the race, losing so much time. Perhaps if you're forced into it by damage, it's understandable to only make two stops, but would they have been better maybe just putting on the soft tyres and seeing if they could make a three-stop strategy work even?
Well, they've had to basically keep to the strategy now and hope it works for them. Lukey at the moment will be scoring 1 point for Ferrari. It could have been so much more with Chris on pole position. I mean, if Ferrari wanted some good points this time around, they still haven't got it. Red Bull, though, currently running in 3rd and 8th place. Once again, it's that consistency that keeps coming back. And we could safely say White Fountain at the moment is the net leader of this race, considering Victor and Nika have to pit again. Scorpion at the moment, though, sort of mid-pack of the runners right now, maybe 4th or 5th at the moment. We're sort of predicting. There's a Toro Rosso coming in. That's Azamata pitting in from 4th place. So that means Westy's going to come back up to 5th. I tell you what, it's not been too bad of a recovery drive from Westy at the moment, considering his first lap there. Oh, that's Asahina going very sideways at turn 16, and Lawrence gains a position as they make their way now towards turn 1, and maybe those tyres are starting to overheat. And look at this, Scorpion once again finds himself behind Asahina. He'll be thinking to himself, not this again.
Yeah, deja vu, and definitely not what he wanted. Lawrence, he'll be trying to push as hard as possible to negate the effects of his penalty. This could be the battle to watch for the end of the race. This could end up being for the final podium position between 4 cars as it stands. So just before Asahina ran wide, Scorpion very nearly again going into the back of Lawrence at the hairpin. He does seem to be able to brake a lot later than some of the others, so maybe he'll try a late dive on Asahina, because before the pit stops, of course, it was a mistake from the Sauber that allowed Scorpion to get past. So Asahina might have a bit of confidence knowing that it was his mistake rather than a fantastic overtaking move from Scorpion that allowed the Red Bull to get by. Gazaman in the chat showing his support for Red Bull, and at the moment they are in a net first and fifth. It's looking like another fantastic race for them, and White Fountain's just moved up into second place, getting past Nika.
Yeah, that was at the hairpin. Pretty straightforward move for White Fountain. He moves ahead then. Meanwhile, Lawrence and Asahina battling down towards the hairpin. Lawrence outbreaks himself in towards turn 14 there as they're battling now, heading towards turn 16. Asahina will be on the outside. Does he commit to the corner? Well, he'll look to try and get a little bit of a cutback then down the short straight towards turn 1. Looks to the right hand side. This will be the inside for turn 1. Watch out for Scorpion behind. He'll be looking to try and take advantage of any mistake then, as Lawrence then looks to try and cut off the inside line as well as attack it. That sends Scorpion trying to go round the outside, then up the inside at turn 3. Can't quite get that sort of tyre that he needs up the inside to sort of secure that move and attempt there, but Lawrence is able to defend from it. And that is the Red Bull trying to again go down the inside, but again he can't get the exit as Lawrence then fends off Scorpion and now has to try and attack Asahina once again.
They'll just be following each other through the next few corners. Asahina, he's made a couple of slight mistakes in the last few laps. We saw Lawrence has made a few as well, so Scorpion and TK, they might just be hanging back slightly, seeing if this sorts itself out. Don't want to get involved in any more incidents. I thought for a second then Lawrence was going to go for a move into turn 12, but that would have just left him a sitting duck down the straight, and that has compromised his exit quite a lot. Ashahina's got away now. He will still have DRS, of course, but this just might give Scorpion and TK a chance. In fact, the McLaren looks very close to the back of Red Bull, and Scorpion's having to go defensive early, and even with DRS, the McLaren's got the outside, and will he go for a move? Oh, no!
TK moved across, and then Scorpion collected him, and it looks like TK just tried to go for a move there. Yeah, he moves across the Red Bull and gets collected, which then sends him straight into the side of the car ahead, which was Asahina. Scorpion, through all of that, has got away past Asahina, but Asahina here trying to now go round the outside at turn 1. Scorpion now up the inside, and has he got that move done? He'll be able to cover off turn 3, and he's got the move done. Bit clumsy there from TK as he tried to defend and attack, but it just marginal there. He moved across, was collected by the Red Bull, and that was that. Now Asahina goes up the inside at turn 6. Who's going to have the better exit then as they head towards turn 7? It looks like Asahina, but he has to go round the outside at turn 7. It's very close together. Now he's got the inside at turn 8. Asahina, though, can't make it stick. Scorpion has the inside for turn 9. He'll try and park it on the apex, which he does sublimely there. And the Red Bull is able to take full advantage. As a matter off at turn... Where is that? That's turn 6, is it? No, it's turn 9. Entrance into turn...
9 and a lot of front wing damage as well on that Toro, so he's on the ultra soft tyre, so I think he's just pushed a bit too hard and he's left the session. It says, I think TK, he got past Scorpion on the straight using DRS, and I think he just saw a move perhaps on Lawrence into the hairpin, which is quite a long way back, and maybe just wasn't far ahead enough of Scorpion. Bit of desync involved perhaps. They just collected each other, and that sent TK flying towards Scorpion. I think fairly lucky that he was the only driver who got any damage in that incident.
Lap 24 of the Chinese Grand Prix. We have 5 laps to go then. It is White Fountain in the lead. Westy in second. Look, oh, there's Scorpion! That's Scorpion and Victor who come together at turn 1. That was...
Victor just coming out the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it just looked like Victor had the inside line and Scorpion just sort of turned into him. Well, Scorpion there, just a lack of concentration and lapse in concentration, I should say, and it's lost him a chunk of front wing. He surely has to go to the end of the race now with a wounded car, and well, it has been a battle, a huge battle for Scorpion to try and get some good points for Red Bull. And at the moment, now he's got Nika behind him, who's on a set of ultra soft tyres, Victor as well on a set of ultra soft tyres. He's only 1.3 behind Lawrence, and Victor here could have a really good chance at now getting that podium. We said it was for Westy, it was for Lawrence, it was for Asahina, it was for Scorpion. Between those 4 cars, and now Victor's here, 4th place, now 0.8 of a second behind Lawrence.
Yeah, he's kept it generally nice and clean in this race, just been running his own race at the front, not been too worried about what anyone else has done, and this strategy, this is where it pays off, having the harder tyres, I should say, at the start of the race. And he's just got DRS open. Lawrence not even bothering to defend, and will Lawrence try and go all the way around the outside? He's extremely late, but the extra grip of those ultra soft tyres, and Victor now into 3rd position.
Nika then up to 6th place with a move on Scorpion, down the straight towards the hairpin. Lap 25, there is your race leader. White Fountain leads as he heads now down towards turn 6. Westy is in 2nd place, championship leader, who was in trouble at turn 1. You know, that first lap where he was at trouble, and now he's in 2nd place. It has been a huge recovery drive for Westy. And, you know, if he'd have recovered to the race win, he'd have had driver of the day for the rest of the season. But 2nd place at the moment isn't too bad, not too shabby at all. It's a Haas 2-3 at the moment, with Victor now in 3rd place. Of course, he qualified, I believe, outside of the top 10.
We saw Joel last time out do very well after qualifying outside of the top 10. You get the fresh tyre choice, and it's not always a complete disaster. Nika as well, he also started outside the top 10. He's in 6th at the moment, and he's got much fresher tyres than Ashahina. He's got time quite comfortably. He could make it into 4th place, perhaps.
Well, absolutely, and there you can see the positions gained. Victor in 3rd place, 11 places gained. Westy, 7 places gained. That's an incredible drive from the 2 Haas drivers.
The mandatory 2 stops if you're involved in an incident on lap 1, it's not the end of the race for you. Westy, we didn't see it on the stream, but he pitted at the end of lap 1, was in last place, thanks to some of the drivers being involved in a bit of carnage. We have had 5 retirements. He's just kept it clean since then, done a very good job, and now he's in what looks like a comfortable 2nd position.
Watch out for Nika then. He's on a late charge. He's now up to 5th place past Asahina. Next target for him is Lawrence, who's 2.7 up the road. There's still a late opportunity for him to try and grab a podium, but it's going to be more and more difficult now as those ultra soft tyres wear out quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I imagine Lawrence does have that 5-second penalty, as well as another 3-second one to add on to his race time at the end. So 4th place does look pretty comfortable for Nicky, you've got to say, as long as he doesn't get too worried. He won't know about the penalties that Lawrence has, of course, so he will be pushing as hard as possible to make up that 2.3 seconds over the next 2 and a bit laps. Further back, Scorpion with that hefty front wing damage, and that's allowing Lukey to catch him up on those medium tyres, even though they have now done 18 laps. He's got a chance of getting himself up into 7th and salvaging something for what has been a pretty disastrous day for the Ferrari team.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll give them something to cheer about, but can they get that way past the Red Bull? It'd be good to get a couple of points on your rivals at least. But yeah, for Ferrari, they'll take any points they can get out of this race, that's for sure. And it's just, you know, Chris, pole position. What a race it could have been for him. But out of the Chinese Grand Prix, we also lost Scanny, Jaw, Nick G and Niels, all within the first sort of 7 laps. And ever since then, every single car has managed to stay running. White Fountain then on the penultimate lap of the race as he makes his way now towards turn 16. And it's, well, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I tell you what, it's been an enjoyable race for White Fountain. 11.1 seconds ahead, just kept his nose clean at the front. Managed to build that gap on Chris, who had that front wing damage. It was 3.4 seconds by the end of lap 1, so it's safe to say I think he's enjoyed this one.
Imagine how different this race could have been perhaps if White Fountain had just got a bit of damage in that first corner incident. If a few more cars had got past Chris perhaps, because he built up a 2 or 3 second gap by the end of lap 1, which meant of course he didn't have to worry about DRS, while all the other drivers are fighting and defending for 2nd place at that point. He didn't have to waste any time defending. It also means you're not going offline, you're keeping your tyres in better shape, and since then, like you said, you're never that comfortable. You've always got a slight worry if there's any safety cars or anything, especially when there's been as many incidents as we've seen today that could give someone else a much better strategy. But he will be pretty relaxed so far and won't have caught up as much to Westy as he would have liked. It'll be 29 points the gap at the moment, but this will move him into 2nd position ahead of Jorrit for now. and gives Red Bull another boost in the constructors.
Well, absolutely. Final lap of the Chinese Grand Prix here in the Precision Tier, and White Fountain leads the final lap of the race. Will he end the race there? It's Westy in second as he heads towards turn 1. Victor then in third. And I have to say, the Haas's here have turned up today. Things weren't going their way in qualifying and even on the very first lap of this race. But they've kept their heads, they've kept a level head, they've kept their composure. And right now they're occupying the last 2 spots on the podium.
Yeah, they're third in the constructors, of course, going into today, and they're getting 33 points in this race at the moment. They'll be the highest scoring team in the Precision Tier today. I've got to say, Victor has been my driver of the day. He's just kept it nice and clean. Currently, he's gained, 10 places at the moment, 11 places, sorry. So for starting 14th as well. He kept it clean when some of the others didn't. Joe, he started outside the top 10 and he was running at the front, of course, but he crashed under the virtual safety car. But I'd say Victor's my driver of the day at the moment. But White Fountain just coming up to the hairpin now. He is going to be delighted with that performance.
Absolutely, making his way now on towards turn 16 for the final time then. White Fountain rounds the final corner and heads on to the home straight here in China. White Fountain wins in Shanghai by a commandable lead and takes a race win for Red Bull and draws himself back into championship contention. Westy then, what a drive from the Haas drivers. Second place for Westy and keeps a hold of the championship lead. And Victor then crossing the line in third. Lawrence crossing the line in fourth. What about Nicker? He'll jump him. Fourth place for the Williams driver. What a drive it's been for him. Fourth place then. Asahina, a great drive for him as well in fifth place. Scorpion crossing the line in sixth. Lawrence in seventh. Lukey in eighth. Jorrit in ninth as he spins across the line. A very frustrating day for him. And TK will grab the final points of the race. But your race winner here for the Red Bull. It was a pretty commanding performance. White Fountain wins the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, just got a slightly better start than Chris. Maybe a bit lucky to avoid any contact in that incident, but you need a bit of luck in racing at times. Did a fantastic job today. And the midfield battle, once again, that seems to be where all the action is. We've seen the leader just have a nice cool head throughout the race and take a commanding victory, and he'll be hoping that gives him the boost he needs in the championship. Only 4 races remaining, of course, now.
Yeah, absolutely. But it will be a fantastic win for the Red Bull driver, and he'll feel he'll earn that one as we now head on to the unofficial results then here at the Chinese Grand Prix. White Fountain wins then, Westy in second, Victor in third, Nicker in fourth, Asahina there in fifth, Scorpion in sixth, Lawrence in 7th, Lukey in 8th, Jorrit 9th, and TK rounding out the top 10. Non-finishers as a matter, Niels, Nick, G, Chris, Jaw, and Scanny. Well, let's go over the driver of the day. Luke, I know you said yours already, but just remind us.
Victor for me, just a brilliant performance. Getting a podium from 14th on the grid. Saved his tyres well, especially in that middle stint, to ensure he could use the ultra softs at the end. I think that proved to be the key. I mean, look, he finished 8 seconds ahead of Asahina in the end. Just had so much pace in that final stage of the race.
I think my driver of the day is going to be torn between 2 drivers. It's either going to be Westy or it's either going to be Nicker. And I think on the grounds of this great performance, I think I'm going to have to give my one to Nicker. He's had a great race. He started from 11th place up to 4th place as well. Great drive from the Williams driver, and he'll be absolutely over the moon with that performance.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well in the championship as well, let's not forget. 6th place at the moment, but similar to Victor really, he's kept it nice and clean on his strategy. Just didn't panic, especially when White Fountain was beginning to catch him up in the later stage of the race. It is so easy to get sucked into a battle that you've really got no chance of winning. And I think if you try defending too much in that situation against the car with so much fresher tyres, you're just going to cost yourself a lot of time. So a very mature performance from both drivers.
Absolutely. And, well, hopefully you'll be able to join us next time out. Luke and I will, of course, be here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's at OneHub Racing. You can follow me on Twitter whilst you're there as well. It's at KSMCGF1. And then you can also follow Luke while you're there as well.
Yes, it's at Luke Etheridge 95.
Well, hopefully you'll join us next time out for round number 5. Until then, though, I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been Luke Etheridge.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.